For the next 90 seconds, I want you to forget everything you know about debt elimination being a math problem. It's actually 90% psychology and only 10% calculations. Budgeting apps, side hustles, extreme frugality. I tried them all for years while $10,000 in credit card debt continued crushing me. What finally worked wasn't mathematical at all, it was psychological. In this video, I'm breaking down the exact mental shifts and velocity banking strategy that eliminated my debt without requiring extra income. Prepare to discover why transforming your mindset is the true secret to becoming debt-free. My rock-bottom debt moment. The wake-up call that changed everything. The day I found myself staring at a declined payment for groceries while my credit card was maxed at $10,000 wasn't just embarrassing. It was my financial rock bottom. Picture me, standing in the checkout line with a cart full of basic necessities, swiping my card repeatedly as if the third or fourth try would magically make money appear. I mumbled something about trying another card, while frantically checking my banking app to confirm what I already knew. I was completely tapped out. That moment in the grocery store represented the culmination of years of financial mistakes disguised as responsible adulting. See, I'd been doing everything the financial gurus told me to do. I had the budgeting apps. I tracked every penny. I read all those 10 ways to save money, articles that basically just tell you to stop buying coffee. But none of it was working. The truth, I was drowning in debt while desperately trying to look like I had it together. My bank account was on life support, but my Instagram still showed brunches and trips I couldn't afford. Talk about financial split personality. What's crazy is how I got there despite following all the right financial moves. I meticulously tracked expenses, set up automatic savings transfers that bounced half the time, and tried various budgeting techniques. But here's what nobody tells you about traditional financial advice. It often creates a scarcity mindset that makes everything worse. The more I obsessed over cutting expenses, the more deprived I felt. Each time I denied myself something small, I'd eventually crack and make a much larger impulse purchase to compensate. It was like going on a crash diet where you eat nothing but celery for days and then demolish an entire pizza at 2 a.m. My financial restrictions just led to bigger binges. The shame was the worst part. I'd hide credit card statements without opening them. I'd make excuses to avoid dinners out with friends. I became a master of the I forgot my wallet routine. When my partner asked about our finances, I'd get defensive or change the subject. The more I hid from my financial reality, the more impossible it became to fix it. How can you solve a problem you can't even look at? My desperate attempts to fix things missed the bigger picture. I canceled subscriptions, picked up extra shifts at work, and tried quick-fix solutions that only addressed the symptoms. The extra money helped a little, but the burnout led to more treat yourself, spending to cope with the stress. Classic self-sabotage cycle, right? The psychological toll was brutal and completely consumed my life. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, mentally calculating how many days until the next bill was due. My relationship suffered as money conversations turned into arguments or cold silences. The constant background anxiety became so normal that I forgot what it felt like to not be stressed about money. It was like having a financial fire alarm blaring in my head 24/7. My breaking point came during a particularly bad anxiety spiral. I was sitting on my bathroom floor at midnight, surrounded by bills and calculator apps, when I realized I'd been trying to solve the same math problem for years with no progress. I kept thinking if I just found the right budgeting method or the perfect expense tracking app, everything would magically fix itself. That's when it hit me. My problem wasn't mathematical. It was psychological. I didn't need another spreadsheet. I needed to completely reimagine my relationship with money. The numbers weren't the issue. My thoughts, feelings, and behaviors around those numbers were the real problem. This realization was both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it meant I had to face all the emotional baggage I had around money. The shame, the avoidance, the magical thinking. Liberating because for the first time, I stopped seeing myself as a financial failure and started seeing myself as someone caught in patterns that could be changed. The turning point wasn't finding some magical debt solution. It was recognizing that my brain had been sabotaging my finances in ways I never realized. I'd been treating the symptoms, the debt, while ignoring the cause, my money psychology. What's wild is that once I shifted my focus from obsessing over the debt numbers to understanding my financial psychology, solutions started appearing that I'd been blind to before. Approaches that seemed counterintuitive to everything I'd been taught about debt management turned out to be exactly what I needed. Think about it. What if most of what you've been told about getting out of debt is actually keeping you stuck in the cycle? What if the real barriers aren't in your wallet, but in your mind? What psychological traps might be keeping you locked in credit card debt without you even realizing it? I discovered that debt is about the complex psychological relationship we develop with money from childhood. It's about the stories we tell ourselves about what we deserve. It's about how financial stress literally changes your brain chemistry and decision-making abilities. The approach that finally worked for me went against most conventional financial wisdom. Instead of focusing solely on restriction and sacrifice, I developed strategies that worked with my psychology instead of against it. Rather than battling my brain's natural tendencies, I found ways to channel them productively. But before I show you the exact system that worked, we need to understand why your brain might be your biggest obstacle to becoming debt-free. The psychology of debt. Why your brain loves to keep you broke. That psychological barrier keeping you in debt isn't some character flaw. It's literally hardwired into your survival instincts. Ever notice how checking your credit card statement triggers the same feeling as spotting a snake in the grass? That's no coincidence, and understanding this connection might be the key to finally breaking free. Let's get real about something most financial experts don't tell you. Debt elimination is 90% psychological and only 10% mathematical. The numbers part, that's actually the easy bit. The real challenge is happening between your ears, where millennia of evolutionary programming collides with modern-day credit card marketing. Your brain developed in an environment where immediate rewards meant survival. Seafood. Eat it now because tomorrow it might be gone. This instant gratification wiring worked perfectly for our ancestors, but becomes a financial disaster when paired with a credit card. When you see that gorgeous pair of shoes or the latest tech gadget, your brain floods with dopamine, the same feel-good chemical triggered by food and sex, making you physically crave the purchase. Your hand reaches for the credit card almost automatically, while the rational part of your brain struggles to catch up. This ancient neurological response collides head-on with modern financial systems, creating the perfect storm for debt accumulation. Credit card companies actively exploit this brain quirk. They've spent billions studying consumer psychology to design everything from their marketing to their statements in ways that maximize your spending while minimizing your awareness of the true cost. That minimum payment option on your bill? It's carefully calculated to keep you paying maximum interest while feeling like you're making progress. There are 3 major psychological traps keeping you locked in the debt cycle: avoidance, emotional spending, and learned helplessness. Avoidance looks like Sarah, who has 7 unopened credit card statements in her drawer because the anxiety of seeing the balance makes her physically ill. Emotional spending is what happens to Mike, who buys new gaming equipment every time he fights with his girlfriend, the temporary high masking his emotional pain. And learned helplessness? That's Jamie, who tried and failed at 3 different debt repayment plans and now believes it's simply impossible to ever be debt-free. What's particularly fascinating is that financial stress triggers the same brain regions as physical pain. Neuroscientists at Stanford University found that when people view their declining account balances, their brains show activation patterns nearly identical to someone experiencing actual physical harm. No wonder we avoid opening those statements. Your brain literally interprets financial stress as a threat to your survival, triggering the same fight-or-flight response as if you were being chased by a predator. This explains why traditional advice like just cut back on expenses or stick to a budget so often fails. When your brain is flooded with stress hormones, your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational decision-making and willpower, essentially goes offline. You're physiologically incapable of making sound financial decisions in that state, no matter how disciplined you think you are. And here's where it gets really messy. Debt shame creates a vicious feedback loop. You feel bad about your debt, which triggers stress, which impairs decision-making, which leads to more debt, which creates more shame, and round we go. It's like trying to diet while someone keeps putting chocolate cake in front of you, and then making you feel terrible when you inevitably give in. What's truly mind-blowing is how early these patterns form. According to financial psychologists, our core money beliefs, what experts call money scripts, are largely formed by age 7. Think about that. Before you even understood what compound interest was, you'd already absorbed powerful unconscious messages about money from watching your parents, experiencing family finances, and absorbing cultural attitudes. These early imprints shape your adult financial behavior in ways you probably don't even recognize. If you grew up hearing, "we can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees," you might have developed a scarcity mindset that makes saving feel impossible. If you saw money cause conflict between your parents, you might unconsciously avoid financial conversations altogether. These scripts run silently in the background of your mind, shaping decisions while you remain completely unaware of their influence. The good news in all this? Once you understand these psychological patterns, you can begin to interrupt them. It's like getting access to the control panel of your financial decisions instead of just dealing with the symptoms. Think about it. If you're struggling with thousands in credit card debt despite trying all the conventional advice, it's probably not because you're bad at math. It's because you're human, with a brain that evolved for an environment completely different from the one we live in today. Take emotional spending, for instance. Most people try to combat this with more willpower, which is like trying to outmuscle a tsunami. Instead, by recognizing the emotional triggers that lead to spending, stress from work, feelings of inadequacy, social comparison, you can develop alternative coping strategies that don't involve your credit card. This psychological approach explains why identical financial strategies work brilliantly for some people and fail miserably for others. Two people with the same income, same debt, and same mathematical approach can have completely different outcomes based solely on their underlying money psychology. When we approach debt as a psychological challenge rather than just a financial one, we stop treating the symptoms and start addressing the root cause. It's the difference between taking pain medication for a broken leg versus actually setting the bone so it can heal properly. The mindset shift, transforming debt shame into financial power. Setting that financial broken bone properly requires something most debt experts never talk about, a total identity shift. Remember that pit in your stomach feeling when checking your balance? What if I told you the day that feeling disappeared forever wasn't when my debt was gone, but when I changed one simple thought pattern that had been sabotaging me for years? Financial shame creates a prison that traps you in a cycle of avoidance and defeat. I spent years believing I was bad with money or financially cursed, like it was some permanent character trait. Every credit card statement felt like a personal report card grading my worth as a human. I was giving myself an F-, on repeat. I'd bury bills under mail mountains, make up excuses to avoid admitting I couldn't afford going out, all while crushing it in other areas of my life, getting promotions, maintaining healthy relationships, yet still feeling like a complete failure because of those numbers haunting my credit card statement. These feelings aren't random emotional drama. Financial therapists call this financial trauma, and it's super common. Your earliest money memories, parents fighting about bills, or a credit card declined at checkout, create emotional triggers that activate whenever you face similar financial situations as an adult. Mine was watching my mom cry at the kitchen table surrounded by bills after my dad lost his job. That image from when I was 8 created a direct link between money problems and emotional devastation. Every financial challenge as an adult would trigger that same childhood panic. The breakthrough came when I discovered research about financial identity and how we internalize our money situations. There's a massive psychological difference between saying, "I have debt" versus "I am in debt." One describes a temporary condition, the other becomes your identity, like saying, "I have a cold" versus "I am sick." One passes, the other defines you. This distinction changed everything. I realized I'd made debt my entire financial identity. Every decision came from thinking, "I'm a person in debt," rather than "I'm a capable person who currently has a debt situation to solve." To break this pattern, I created the Identity Separation Worksheet. On one side of the page, I wrote what I have and listed things like $10,000 in credit card debt and spending habits triggered by work stress. On the other side, under who I am, I wrote resourceful, determined, and capable of learning new skills. Reading the Who I Am column every morning began rewiring how I saw myself in relation to my debt. When I stopped seeing debt as a moral failing and started viewing it as a technical problem to solve, everything shifted. It was like removing emotional weights and seeing my situation clearly for the first time. Think about it. If your friend showed you they were $10,000 in debt and asked for help, you wouldn't call them terrible or doomed. You'd look at the numbers objectively and brainstorm solutions. Yet somehow, we can't give ourselves that same compassionate perspective. Reframing my debt as a strategic puzzle rather than evidence of personal failure transformed my approach. I stopped avoiding my financial reality and got curious about it. I started asking, how could I restructure these payments? Instead of, why am I such a financial disaster? The results appeared quickly. I began opening bills immediately instead of hiding them. I created a debt tracking system that felt empowering instead of shameful. I even contacted creditors to negotiate, something I'd been too embarrassed to do before. But the emotional change was most significant. That constant background money anxiety faded. I stopped waking up with stomach knots. Money conversations became strategy sessions instead of shame spirals. I remember exactly when I realized the shift had happened. Reviewing my credit card statement, I noticed a billing error. Previously, I would have been too embarrassed to question it, as if being in debt meant I didn't deserve correct billing. This time, I called immediately, explained calmly, and got it resolved. After hanging up, I sat shocked at how different I felt. The person making that call wasn't the same financially ashamed person from months earlier. I had separated my debt from my identity, and it changed everything. This mindset shift, from I am in debt to I have a temporary debt situation I'm strategically solving, created the foundation that made all practical steps possible. Without it, I would have continued sabotaging my efforts, regardless of how many budgeting apps or payoff strategies I tried. Your debt is not a character flaw or moral failing. It's just a financial situation that exists right now, one that will change with the right approach. That approach starts with separating your financial circumstances from your core identity. So what's the one mindset shift that transformed my entire debt situation? It was realizing that debt was something I had, not something I was. This simple but profound shift turned an emotional crisis into a solvable math problem, and finally allowed me to approach my finances with clarity and confidence instead of shame and avoidance. With this emotional transformation as your foundation, you're now ready to tackle the tactical system I've developed. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to transform this new mindset into specific, actionable steps that will systematically eliminate your debt, just like they did mine. The practical tools work because you've addressed the underlying mindset first. That's the secret most financial experts miss completely. Velocity Banking 101, the Strategic Debt Elimination System explained. When I started seeing debt as a technical challenge rather than a personal failure, I stumbled across a strategy the financial industry rarely discusses. While most experts tell you to cut lattes and clip coupons, they're conveniently silent about this method that uses the banking system's own rules against it, potentially saving you thousands in interest without changing your income at all. What exactly is velocity banking? At its core, it's a strategic approach to debt elimination that focuses on optimizing cash flow. Think of it as financial jujitsu, using the banking system's momentum against itself to pin down your debt faster. Traditional debt advice like the snowball method, paying smallest debts first, or avalanche method, tackling highest interest rates first, keeps you playing by the bank's rules. It's like trying to win a game where someone else made all the rules. Possible, but unnecessarily difficult. Here's how velocity banking works in 3 simple moves. 1. Open a line of credit with a lower interest rate than your current debts. 2. Use this line to make a massive lump sum payment against high-interest debt. 3. Direct all your income to this line of credit first, before paying any expenses. This strategy immediately reduces your principal, which means less interest accumulates right away. The magic happens when you route your entire paycheck through the line of credit before paying expenses. Let me break this down with real numbers. Say you have $10,000 of credit card debt at 22% interest. With velocity banking, you'd open a line of credit at 9% interest. Pay off the entire credit card balance immediately. Direct your $5,000 monthly income to the line of credit first. Draw from it throughout the month for expenses. Your debt temporarily drops to $5,000 when your paycheck hits, and even though it climbs back up as you pay bills, you've spent part of the month with a lower balance. This reduces your average daily balance, which is how interest is calculated. The real power comes when you add even $300 extra monthly. Each month starts with a slightly lower balance than before, creating a snowball effect that accelerates your debt elimination. Many people think this is just shifting debt around. But in this financial jiu-jitsu match, you're actually changing the rules of engagement. Credit cards use compound interest that works against you, while lines of credit typically use simple interest with flexible payment structures. It's the difference between renting a car by the hour versus leasing it monthly. Same car, dramatically different cost structure. My own experience proves the difference. With traditional payments, I was making $350 monthly payments where $183 went straight to interest, leaving only $167 for principal reduction. That meant over 8 years to freedom. With Velocity Banking, my first month's interest dropped to just $75, allowing $275 to tackle principal. A 60% increase in debt fighting power without changing my payment amount. By the 6-month mark, my balance was $7,842 instead of $9,002. Over $1,100 more progress without increasing my monthly payment. Don't own a home? No problem. While Helix offer the lowest rates, personal lines of credit work too. Credit union signature loans, 0% balance transfers, or even strategic personal loans can all serve as your financial jiu-jitsu moves. The key is finding credit options with better terms than your current debt. What makes this approach particularly powerful is its psychological effect. Instead of restrictive budgeting that makes you feel deprived, you're optimizing your financial moves. You're not penny pinching, you're strategizing. This makes debt payoff feel empowering rather than punishing. There's also a built-in accountability benefit. Routing all money through your line of credit means every dollar is tracked automatically. You gain spending awareness without logging every purchase into a budgeting app. Velocity Banking does carry risks. Without spending discipline, you could end up with 2 debts instead of 1. It works best with stable income and requires qualifying for those lower interest options first. If your earnings fluctuate monthly, you'll need to maintain some buffer funds. The biggest surprise implementing this strategy wasn't just saving money, it was transforming my relationship with cash flow. I started seeing money as something that should always be in motion, working for me. Every dollar had a job in my financial jiu-jitsu match, reducing my interest burden. This changed how I approached finances completely. Instead of thinking in monthly payment cycles, I began optimizing my money daily. It's like switching from a monthly weigh-in to tracking daily habits. My Velocity Banking implementation, the exact steps I took. That daily financial optimization transformed my thinking and completely overhauled my actual money situation. What if I showed you the exact blueprint that wiped out my credit card debt? Not some theoretical example, but my actual month-by-month journey that worked even when I couldn't qualify for the traditional solutions most financial gurus recommend. Theory sounds great, but real implementation gets messy. That's why I'm going to share everything. The actual numbers, the setbacks, and the creative workarounds I developed when the textbook approach wasn't available to me. Let me take you back to where I was stuck. Minimum payments on my credit card were basically feeding the interest monster. Out of my $350 monthly payment, only $167 was actually reducing my principal. At that rate, I'd be debt-free somewhere around my 50th birthday. The first roadblock appeared immediately. I couldn't qualify for a HELOC. My home equity was insufficient, and my debt-to-income ratio was too high. This is where most people give up, thinking, well, this strategy isn't for me. Instead of abandoning the approach, I got creative. I secured a personal line of credit through my credit union. The interest rate was 9%, higher than a HELOC's potential 4-5%, but dramatically better than my 22% credit card. The credit union approved me for $12,000, covering my credit card debt with a small buffer. Here's where the magic happens: structuring your cash flow through the account properly. Many people transfer the balance and treat the line of credit exactly like their credit card, completely missing the point of Velocity Banking. My implementation looked like this. Month 1, drew $10,000 from line of credit, paid off credit card completely. Month 2, redirected entire $5,000 paycheck into the line of credit. Monthly budget, $4,300 for essential expenses. Net monthly debt reduction, $700. The key psychological shift was adopting a pay-your-debt-first approach. Every dollar stayed in the line of credit until the moment I needed it. rather than sitting in my checking account waiting to be spent. By month 3, my line of credit balance dropped to $8,600, already $1,800 ahead of my old payment schedule. The momentum was building, and watching those larger chunks of debt disappear motivated me tremendously. Then came the first major test, a $1,200 car repair in month 4. Before my Velocity banking system, this would have gone straight on a credit card, undoing months of progress. Instead, I adjusted my cash flow plan. I withdrew the necessary amount from my line of credit and committed to reducing discretionary spending by $200 monthly for 6 months to compensate. This flexibility is a major advantage of Velocity banking. The system adapts to life surprises, unlike rigid budget frameworks that collapse with unexpected expenses. Progress milestones. Month 6, balance down to $7,840, traditional approach, still over $9,000. Month 10, balance reduced to $4,200, less than half the original debt. Month 11, received $1,500 bonus, applied entirely to debt. Month 12, made final payment, becoming completely debt-free. To track my progress, I created a simple spreadsheet recording 3 daily numbers: current line of credit balance, total deposits, and total withdrawals. This daily tracking kept me conscious of my spending and motivated me by visually showing my debt decreasing. An unexpected benefit was the elimination of impulse purchases. Since every dollar stayed in the line of credit until needed, I had to consciously decide to withdraw money for each purchase, creating a natural cooling-off period that prevented those random Amazon late-night shopping sprees. Around month 8, I faced another challenge, a job change with a 3-week gap between paychecks. I contacted my credit union and explained my situation. They allowed interest-only payments for 2 months, giving me breathing room during the transition. When my new, higher income started, I accelerated my debt payoff even faster. The psychological effect of crossing the halfway point at month 10 was enormous. My outlook transformed from, "I hope this works," to "I'm actually going to be debt-free." When I received that $1,500 performance bonus in month 11, I put the entire amount toward my line of credit instead of splurging, bringing my balance below $2,000. Here are the actual numbers that made this journey successful. Starting debt, $10,000 at 22% interest. A traditional approach, $350 monthly payments with $183 going to interest. Velocity banking approach, $5,000 monthly income flowing through a 9% line of credit. Average monthly debt reduction, $833 compared to $167 previously. Total time to debt freedom, 12 months compared to 60+ months previously. Interest saved, approximately $3,150. This wasn't about making more money or dramatic lifestyle sacrifices. It was about strategically optimizing how my existing money flowed through my accounts, turning boring banking mechanics into a powerful debt elimination tool. What made this approach stick when all my previous attempts failed? The combination of mathematical advantage and psychological reinforcement. Seeing big chunks of debt disappear provided constant motivation. The daily tracking kept me engaged with my finances rather than avoiding them. And the flexibility of the system meant that real-life complications didn't derail my progress. The emotional spending audit, identifying your money triggers. The system was mathematically perfect, but I was still the flawed human operating it. After tracking not just what I spent, but why I spent it for 30 days, I uncovered a pattern that shocked me. Specific emotions were triggering most of my unnecessary purchases. The real debt trap wasn't in my wallet. It was in my emotional responses. Here's what happened. I had my Velocity banking system running smoothly. The numbers looked great on paper, and yet somehow, my debt wasn't disappearing as quickly as my spreadsheet predicted it should. Something was sabotaging my progress behind the scenes, and it wasn't until I looked beyond the numbers that I discovered the real culprit. After 3 months of watching my debt reduction slow down despite my mathematical strategy, I realized I needed to investigate what was happening between my bank account and my brain. The Velocity banking system was working exactly as planned, but I was still making unexpected purchases that weren't in my budget. These weren't big splurges, just small, frequent expenses that collectively threw off my entire plan. So I created what I now call the emotional spending audit. For 30 straight days, I tracked every single purchase I made, the amount, the item, and what I was feeling before, during, and after I bought it. I created a simple 3-column template in my Notes app. What I bought, what I felt before buying, and what I felt after buying. The results were eye-opening. A whopping 62% of my unplanned purchases had nothing to do with actual needs. They were direct responses to emotional states. 3 major emotional triggers stood out. Work stress, $200 per month on food delivery after tough meetings. Social comparison, $175 per month on small items after Instagram sessions. Boredom, $85 per month on random subscriptions and digital purchases. The patterns were crystal clear. After a brutal client meeting one Wednesday, I found myself ordering Thai food while perfectly good ingredients sat in my fridge. That momentary relief when placing the order felt like a deep exhale after holding my breath all day. But the satisfaction lasted exactly as long as the meal. Then came the familiar sting of regret as I checked my debt payoff tracker. What really struck me was the emotional aftermath. That initial rush of excitement would last about 20 minutes, then transform into a low-grade anxiety that I'd just set back my financial progress. Imagine the difference between that fleeting high and the solid satisfaction I felt when I resisted an impulse purchase. It was like comparing a sugar rush to a good night's sleep. One left me crashing, the other built something lasting. With this data in hand, I created replacement behaviors for each emotional trigger. For work stress, the trigger. Instead of ordering food delivery, the effect. I developed a free stress relief list, the solution, with activities that actually worked better than shopping. A specific 10-minute workout, calling a friend, or stepping outside. The key was having these alternatives ready when the stress hit, not trying to improvise in the moment. For social comparison triggers, I implemented a 24-hour rule for any purchase inspired by social media or conversations with friends. I'd save the item to my wish list, but force myself to wait a full day before buying. About 85% of the time, the urge completely vanished by the next day. For boredom spending, I addressed the root issue. I was using consumption as entertainment. I created a boredom buster folder on my phone with free games, creative apps, and activities that gave me the same stimulation without the price tag. The game changer was creating a visual template to track these patterns. I color-coded my spending triggers: red for stress, blue for social comparison, yellow for boredom, and green for actual needs. Seeing my credit card statement transform from a rainbow of emotional spending to mostly green need-based purchases became oddly satisfying. A technique that proved particularly effective was emotion-first budgeting. Instead of just allocating money by category, I started allocating $50 per month specifically for emotional well-being. By giving myself permission to spend a small amount explicitly on mood-lifting purchases, I removed the guilt and actually ended up spending less overall. My monthly emotional spending audit template included these crucial columns: date, purchase amount, feeling before, feeling after, was it worth it? Alternative action, that was it worth it? Column trained me to evaluate purchases by their actual impact on my well-being. A $4 coffee that genuinely improved my day was worth it, while a $20 gadget that gave me 5 minutes of excitement followed by buyer's remorse was not. I also discovered my spending danger zones. Wednesday evenings after work meetings and Sunday afternoons when the weekend was ending. By identifying these vulnerable periods, I could prepare myself with extra emotional spending defenses. The most valuable outcome wasn't just the money saved, though that was substantial. It was the self-awareness about how my emotions were controlling my financial decisions. Once I could see the pattern, I couldn't unsee it, and that awareness became a checkpoint before every purchase. Am I buying this because I need it, or because I'm feeling something I don't want to feel? This audit revealed something crucial that no budgeting app ever could: the emotional landscape underneath my financial decisions. The reason my velocity banking strategy wasn't working at full capacity wasn't a flaw in the system. It was that I was feeding unnecessary purchases into it based on emotional impulses rather than actual needs. Visualization techniques: reprogramming your financial behavior. After mapping my emotional spending landscape, I stumbled across a technique that seemed too simple to actually work. Those visualization exercises I used to dismiss as woo-woo nonsense? Turns out they're backed by serious neuroscience, and they completely transformed how my brain processes financial decisions. The same mental training that helps Olympic athletes nail perfect performances can literally rewire your financial decision-making circuits. And I've got the transformed bank account to prove it. I still remember the exact moment I knew visualization was working. Standing in Target, staring at a cute shirt on sale, I realized I genuinely didn't want it. Not in that sad, I can't afford this way, but with a calm certainty that it wouldn't bring me closer to the debt-free future I'd been visualizing. That moment of clarity felt more satisfying than any impulse purchase ever had. When I first heard about visualization for financial behavior, I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly fell out of my head. Sitting around daydreaming about money seemed like wishful thinking, not a solid debt elimination strategy. I was deep into my velocity banking system and tracking my emotional spending triggers. I needed real solutions, not meditation mumbo-jumbo from some influencer's feed. But I was desperate enough to try anything. My emotional spending audit had revealed the triggers. But knowing your triggers and actually stopping the behavior are totally different beasts. That's when I discovered research showing how visualization creates new neural pathways in the brain. Your brain actually activates the same areas whether you're doing something or just vividly imagining it. This was a game changer. Athletes do this all the time, mentally practicing their perfect shot thousands of times before physically taking it. Their brains build the neural connections through visualization, like carving a path through snow before ever setting foot on it. What if I could create those same mental pathways for financial decisions before I was standing at checkout with my credit card in hand? So I developed 3 specific visualization exercises. The first one I call the debt-free future self. Each morning when my brain was still in that suggestible half-awake state, I spent 5 minutes imagining myself debt-free a year later. I made it super sensory, feeling the physical relaxation in my shoulders without debt's weight, imagining specific scenarios like seeing zero balances in my accounts or planning trips without calculating interest. This exercise created a powerful emotional anchor that pulled me toward better daily choices. The second technique was spending decision rehearsal. Each evening, I'd mentally walk through spending situations I might face tomorrow. If I knew I had to go to Target, I'd visualize walking past those tempting displays without a second glance. I'd practice exactly what I'd say when friends invited me to an unplanned dinner. I'd love to join you for the company, but I'll just have an appetizer since I'm saving for something important. This mental practice made the real-world decisions almost automatic when I faced them. The third technique, financial success replay, involved taking 30 seconds after any good financial decision to mentally replay it with amplified positive feelings. Skip the impulse coffee. I'd replay that moment, but crank up the feelings of pride to maximum intensity. This simple celebration reinforced the neural pathways associated with smart money choices, making them easier to repeat. The science here is pretty cool. Our financial decisions are heavily influenced by our emotional brain, which is why logical budgeting advice often fails when we're emotionally triggered. Visualization works by creating competing emotional pathways that feel even better than spending. Instead of fighting emotions with logic, which usually loses, we're creating positive emotional associations with saving money. I integrated these techniques into my existing routine, visualizing my debt-free future while my coffee brewed, rehearsing spending decisions during my evening shower, and celebrating wins throughout the day during small moments like waiting in line or commercial breaks. The results shocked me. Within 2 weeks, I was making different choices without that awful feeling of deprivation. My brain had shifted to automatically align with my visualized future self's priorities. When a friend suggested an expensive restaurant, I confidently offered an alternative. How about takeout and a park picnic instead? The weather's perfect. It wasn't about sacrifice. It was about choices that matched my real values. The most surprising change was with my coffee habit. After weeks of mentally rehearsing walking past coffee shops while amplifying feelings of pride, something weird happened. The smell of coffee that once triggered an automatic $5 purchase now triggered feelings of accomplishment instead. Same trigger, completely different response. Within 2 months, my impulse purchases had decreased by nearly 70%. My credit utilization was steadily dropping, and I was making real progress on my debt without constant feelings of deprivation. And when I received a surprise $400 tax refund, my first thought wasn't about what to buy. It was excitement about accelerating my debt payoff timeline. Even wilder, That thought gave me more genuine pleasure than spending it would have. The beauty of visualization techniques is that they work with your brain's natural tendencies instead of fighting them. Unlike budgeting apps that require constant willpower, visualization creates automatic behaviors aligned with your financial goals, like upgrading your brain's operating. Zero cash debt elimination, leveraging the gig economy without extra hours. Rewiring my brain was only half the battle. I still needed cash to throw at my debt without sacrificing more of my already maxed out schedule. Ever looked around your living space and wondered if those empty corners, unused skills, or everyday purchases could actually be generating money while you sleep? That's exactly where I found myself after implementing my visualization techniques. My mindset was finally in the right place, but I kept running into the most frustrating financial advice ever. Just make more money. As if I could magically conjure extra hours between my full-time job, basic human needs like sleeping, and occasionally seeing friends or family. The traditional side hustle advice wouldn't work for me. My zero cash debt elimination strategy required the same mental shift I'd already started making, seeing value where others saw nothing. This is what I call value shifting instead of income increasing. Finding money that's already in your ecosystem rather than sacrificing more of your precious time to earn it. I conducted what I now call an asset audit, a complete inventory of everything I owned new or did regularly that might have untapped financial potential. I literally walked through my apartment with a notepad, writing down anything that might be valuable to someone else. That spare bedroom closet, the graphic design skills I used for fun, even my regular shopping habits, all potential sources of passive income. My urban apartment had a decent-sized storage closet collecting dust. After clearing it out one weekend, I listed it on a storage app for $120 monthly. Within 2 weeks, a grad student was paying me to store her off-season clothes and books. Time investment after initial cleanup? About 5 minutes a month. Before, empty closet space, zero income. After, same closet, $120 monthly, virtually no time commitment. I'd been creating custom digital planners for years, something I genuinely enjoyed. I set up a simple online store with 3 planner designs at $15 each. The beauty was that each file could be sold infinitely with zero additional work. After 1 weekend of setup, I made $185 the first month. By month 3, I was averaging $230 monthly from this completely passive stream. Before, planners created only for personal use, zero income. After, same planners sold online, $230 monthly, no additional creation time. I also overhauled my spending patterns. By strategically using cashback credit cards, paid off immediately, shopping portals, and rebate apps, I generated around $75 to $100 monthly in rewards, money that went straight to my debt payments. Before, regular shopping, zero returns beyond purchases. After, same shopping, $100 monthly in cashback, no extra time spent. An unexpected stream emerged when a neighbor noticed my organized closet while dropping off their storage items. They asked if I'd help organize their home office. This led to occasional organizing gigs at $50 per session. Limiting this to 2 sessions monthly added another $100 with minimal time investment. Together, these strategies consistently generated around $500 extra each month that went directly toward my debt. The critical difference from traditional side hustles was the time-to-income ratio. After initial setup, these streams required maybe 2 to 3 hours of maintenance monthly total, compared to 20-plus hours for the same amount from a traditional part-time job. I call this the set it and let it approach. The upfront work creates systems that continue paying you long after you've moved on. This contrasts sharply with the work and get paid once model of trading hours for dollars. You can identify your own hidden assets by conducting an asset audit using these categories. Physical assets. What spaces or items do you have that others might pay to use? Storage space, parking spots, or equipment are prime examples. Knowledge assets. What do you know that others would pay to learn? Skills you take for granted can be packaged into digital products or small consulting sessions. Routine assets. What do you already do regularly that could be monetized? Your shopping habits, commute, or fitness routine might hold hidden potential. Network assets. Who do you know that might create mutual benefit through collaboration? Your connections could generate referral opportunities. A friend implemented this system and discovered her knowledge of vintage clothing could generate over $300 monthly through a curated Instagram shop with just 2 to 3 hours weekly. Another friend realized his rarely used spare bedroom could earn $150 monthly as weekend photography studio space. This isn't about turning every aspect of your life into a hustle. It's about identifying specific opportunities where value already exists and can be captured with minimal ongoing effort, generating income without sacrificing your time, mental health, or enjoyment of life. The impact on my debt journey was dramatic. Every additional dollar generated went straight to principal reduction, creating a larger initial drop in principal through velocity banking. Because I'd already optimized my debt structure, each extra dollar was working at maximum efficiency. By month 4 of implementing these income streams alongside velocity banking, I was ahead of schedule by nearly $2,000 in debt reduction, translating to being debt-free 2 months earlier than projected. Beyond the math, there was something psychologically powerful about seeing these small streams combine into a significant flow of debt-reducing cash. The same mindset shift that helped me visualize my debt differently now enabled me to see income potential in places I'd previously overlooked, truly completing the zero-cash debt elimination strategy, building financial resilience, overcoming setbacks, and maintaining momentum. That feeling of financial momentum was intoxicating, until month 5, when my car decided it was the perfect time to need a new transmission. What happens when your carefully constructed debt elimination plan collides with a $2,000 emergency? The answer reveals why 78% of debt payoff attempts ultimately fail. And trust me, it's not about the math. I was cruising along, watching my balance shrink faster than expected, when my car made that dreaded expensive sound. The mechanic confirmed my fears, a $2,000 repair bill. My progress seemed to vanish instantly, and for several hours, those familiar shame tapes played in my head. See? You'll never get ahead. I was one swipe away from giving up entirely. But this time was different. Instead of letting this setback derail me, I activated what I now call my financial resilience framework. 3 specific techniques that saved my debt payoff plan and transformed my relationship with money. The first technique was the 48-hour reset. When financial emergencies hit, most people make panic-driven decisions. This approach is straightforward. Make absolutely no financial decisions for 48 hours after a money shock. No credit applications, no loans, no budget changes, nothing. Just ride the emotional wave. During those 48 hours, I wrote down every emotion without judgment. Frustration, fear, anger, disappointment. By hour 30, the emotional intensity had decreased enough that I could think clearly about solutions rather than just reacting to the crisis. The second technique was setback budgeting, a specific approach to handling financial emergencies without abandoning your larger goals. Rather than seeing my entire plan as ruined, I created a temporary setback zone within my strategy. I calculated exactly how this $2,000 expense would impact my timeline, extending my payoff date by approximately 10 weeks. I created a mini plan specifically for absorbing this setback by temporarily redirecting my side income and reducing cash flow in certain areas for 60 days. This approach contained the damage to a specific time frame rather than letting it contaminate my entire financial future. Most importantly, it gave me a clear picture of exactly when I'd be back on track, preventing the "what's the point" mentality that derails most debt payoff attempts. The third technique was progress anchoring. Our brains have a negativity bias. We focus on setbacks rather than progress. Progress anchoring counteracts this by redirecting attention to overall momentum. I created a visual chart showing my debt reduction journey with a clear before velocity banking and after velocity banking comparison. Even with the $2,000 setback, I was still dramatically ahead of where I would have been using my old approach. Seeing this visually recalibrated my perspective almost immediately. Every day during this setback period, I spent 90 seconds reviewing 3 questions. What financial progress have I made that can't be taken away? What financial skills have I developed? And what's one small action I can take today? This simple practice prevented the all-or-nothing thinking that typically sabotages financial progress. I also built a psychological safety net through specific mindfulness practices. Financial anxiety creates a fog that makes clear thinking impossible. A daily 5-minute breathing exercise when looking at financial numbers created enough emotional distance to make better decisions. I practiced financial visualization with obstacles too, deliberately imagining overcoming specific financial setbacks, mentally rehearsing resilience rather than just achievement. This prepared my brain to view obstacles as part of the journey rather than the end of it. My accountability system wasn't just a financial buddy, but a resilience accountability partner. Someone who had overcome significant challenges in a completely different area. We focused not on how much debt I'd paid off that week, but on how I was managing my thought patterns around setbacks. This perspective was something pure financial. Accountability couldn't provide. What surprised me most was how these resilience techniques transformed my entire relationship with financial challenges. By month 7, when an unexpected $400 expense came up, I didn't experience it as a crisis. It was simply a problem to solve rather than a reflection of my worth or capabilities. By reaching debt freedom, I realized these resilience techniques had given me something far more valuable than becoming debt-free. The real payoff was developing the ability to face financial uncertainty without panic or shame, a skill that continues to serve me in every area of my financial life. Financial resilience isn't just about bouncing back from setbacks. It's about developing a fundamentally different relationship with uncertainty itself. The people who successfully become and stay debt-free aren't the ones who never face obstacles. They're the ones who expect obstacles and have systems for managing them. Most financial advice focuses on what to do when everything goes according to plan. But real financial freedom comes from knowing how to respond when things go sideways. The difference between temporary setback and permanent defeat is having a resilient system in place before you need it. Statistics show that people typically abandon financial goals after experiencing 2 to 3 significant setbacks. It's rarely the first obstacle that derails us. It's the cumulative effect of multiple challenges without adequate recovery systems. By implementing these resilience techniques, you're developing the mental infrastructure to maintain financial progress throughout your life, which is exactly what we'll build together in the blueprint I'm about to share. Your 90-day debt freedom blueprint, putting it all together. Having the right mental infrastructure is only half the battle. Now you need a practical roadmap that transforms all these concepts into daily actions. I've spent countless hours refining this system, and what I've discovered is that people who successfully eliminate debt implement their strategies in the right sequence. Think of this as your debt freedom GPS, a turn-by-turn navigation system custom-built for your financial journey. Let me be totally straight with you. Trying to implement everything we've covered all at once would be like trying to learn a new language, start a workout routine, and change your diet all on the same Monday morning. Total recipe for burnout. The magic happens in the sequence. I've created a 90-day blueprint that introduces new elements gradually, allowing each change to become a habit before adding the next piece. Here's your step-by-step 90-day roadmap. Days 1 to 30. Mindset and Analysis Phase Week 1. Complete the Identity Separation Worksheet. Spend 20 minutes physically writing down the separation between your financial circumstances and your identity. Changing I am broke to I have debt makes a massive difference in your ability to take action. Week 2. Conduct your emotional spending audit. Track every purchase alongside what you were feeling before, during, and after buying. Most people discover 3 to 5 specific emotional triggers that consistently lead to unplanned spending. Week 3. Begin your 5-minute daily visualization practice with the Debt-Free Future Self-Exercise. Imagine waking up, checking your accounts, and seeing zero debt. Feel the physical sensations of relief and confidence. Week 4. Add the 3-minute spending decision rehearsal to your evening routine while gathering your financial data, account balances, interest rates, and cash flow patterns. Identify where money gets stuck in your financial system. Days 31 to 60. Strategic Implementation Phase, Week 5. Select the right velocity tool for your situation. HELOC for homeowners with equity, personal lines of credit, credit union signature loans, or strategic 0% balance transfer offers. Week 6. Set up your chosen velocity tool and create your cash flow management system. Adjust direct deposits, set up automatic transfers, and create a visual tracking system that gives you daily feedback on your progress. Week 7. Make your first major debt payment using your new system. This moment is often when people experience their first financial freedom high, and the most psychologically rewarding moment in the entire process. Week 8. Launch 2 passive income experiments based on your asset audit. Identify untapped financial potential in your living space, skills, and resources. Target $200 to $500 monthly with less than 5 hours of maintenance time. Days 61 to 90. Optimization and resilience phase, week 9. Review your first 2 months of data and make strategic adjustments. Most people can increase their debt paydown rate by 15 to 20% just by optimizing payment timing and cash flow routing. Week 10. Create your financial resilience plan. A pre-made decision tree for handling various financial challenges. What exactly will you do if your car needs repairs or your hours get cut? Having these responses planned prevents emotional decision-making during stressful situations. Week 11. Establish peer accountability through a structured check-in system with a friend, online community, or financial coach. The format matters less than the consistency. Regular external accountability increases follow-through by over 80% according to behavioral research. Week 12. Conduct your comprehensive progress review. Update your timeline to debt freedom based on real data, and create your maintenance plan. You'll be shocked at how your debt payoff trajectory has transformed. But I'll save the specifics of what happens for later. This blueprint needs customization based on your situation. For smaller debts, under $5,000, compress the timeline to 60 days by combining phases. For example, start your implementation in week 3 while continuing mindset work, allowing you to reach your debt-free goal faster. For larger debts, over $20,000, extend your analysis phase to 45 days to fully optimize your strategy before implementation. This ensures your velocity strategy is optimally designed for the long-term journey ahead. If traditional velocity tools aren't available due to credit challenges, focus more heavily on creating micro-income streams and optimizing existing cash flow. Expand weeks 6 to 8 to test multiple income opportunities simultaneously. Your psychological starting point matters too. If financial trauma or shame is particularly strong for you, allocate more time to the mindset work in month 1. Adding daily journaling about money beliefs and weekly forgiveness exercises can create the emotional space needed for strategic thinking. Track your progress with weekly metrics. Psychological, financial anxiety, 1 to 10 scale, account checking frequency, and emotional distress during money decisions. A financial, debt balance, interest to principal ratio, and cash flow efficiency ratio. By month 3, most people hit what I call the momentum threshold, where psychological resistance decreases while financial progress increases enough to create self-reinforcing positive cycles. This is when debt payoff shifts from feeling like pushing a boulder uphill to guiding it downhill. The true power of this blueprint comes from creating permanent change in both your financial situation and your relationship with money. You're building mental infrastructure and practical systems to prevent future debt cycles. Financial freedom isn't just about a zero balance. It's about the confidence that comes from knowing you have the tools to handle whatever money challenges arise. The journey we've taken together isn't just about numbers on a screen or plastic cards in your wallet. When that final payment cleared, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, actual peace around money. Like I could finally take a full breath without that invisible weight on my chest. Your debt is a temporary visitor, not a permanent roommate. It never defined your worth, even when it felt like it did. The visualization techniques and velocity banking system we've covered are powerful tools waiting for your action. Grab my free velocity banking calculator and emotional spending audit template from the link below. The exact resources that transformed my financial life. Remember, debt is just a situation you're passing through, not who you are.